Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day 475. Thursday, June the 28th, 2018. Thank you so much for tuning in. Wow, what an unbelievable past couple of days. Of course, the big news today, Justice Kennedy telling the president that he is done on July 31st. He is done. So a lot of people have been talking about this for about a year now, and Kennedy has never really commented himself personally. But a lot of people recently have been suggesting that that would not happen. But he pulled one out of his hat, and he came out of nowhere and said, "I'm done, July 31st," which means that Trump will be nominating another Supreme Court justice sometime in the next 30 days. He has a list of 25. We've already seen that list. They're all pretty much very conservative, originalist judges, which is what Trump likes, originalist judges. Of course, coming on the heels of the 5-4 decision on the travel ban yesterday, and then today to have this drop, the liberals have gone completely insane. I didn't think they could get any more insane or melt down any worse than than what we've already seen, but this took it to a new level today. Oh my goodness gracious. They are in total meltdown mode. And it didn't take long for Chuck the Cuck Schumer to take to the microphone and suggest to McConnell in some sort of a veiled threat, "You better not do this before the 2018 elections." Oh yeah? Remember what Harry Reid did, waiving that filibuster rule? Oh, we all remember that quite well. Chuck the Cuck. Well, McConnell hasn't made an official statement yet, but he was asked about it by some reporters. And just off the top of his head, he said, "Yeah, we expect the president will send forth a nominee, and we'll vote on it this fall." He's talking about before the November election, because, of course, McConnell knows it would be beyond political suicide for him to drag his feet and not do that. So he really doesn't have much choice. He's in a box anyway. But he's probably on board with it anyhow, just because of how ticked off he was when Chuck Schumer did that to him when he was the minority leader in the Senate. So you can expect that Supreme Court nominee will be forthcoming in the next 30 days or less, and you can expect that we'll vote on it before November. So you've got the libs now. What they're going to try to do is use this to energize their base to say, well, say goodbye to Roe versus Wade. That's exactly how they're going to play this. It's how they always play it. Whenever it's an issue of Supreme Court, it's always Roe versus Wade. That's what we're going to get, or the Heller decision or something like that. So anyway, you can expect to see that the liberals are going to become even more unhinged. Even more unhinged. I don't know how much more they can take before we're literally going to have to hospitalize and institutionalize millions of lefties. It may be too much for them to handle. It may be too much for them to handle. I'm serious. I'm not even joking. I know you think I'm joking. I'm not joking. Some of these people are going to have nervous breakdowns. They're just not going to be able to handle it. They have been the victims of decades and decades of indoctrination in the public education system. They are red diaper doper babies. They don't know any better. The only thing they know to do, it's like, it's kind of like taking the pacifier out of the mouth of a baby. They start crying. And that's what these libs do. It's a knee-jerk reaction. Supreme Court nominee coming up, uh-oh. That's like pulling the pacifier out of their mouth, and they go into crybaby mode. Whatever it is. So 2 days in a row, the 5-4 decision yesterday by the Supreme Court upholding the travel ban. Today, Kennedy announcing that he is going to be parting ways with the Supreme Court. This may be too much for them to handle. And just imagine on election night in November when the blue wave doesn't come, and instead maybe it's a red wave. And I don't know that it's going to be a red wave, but I do expect we are going to pick up 3 to maybe as many as 5 seats in the Senate, simply because the Democrats have to defend way more seats than the Republicans do. Their money is going to be spread thin, and we know that they're having issues raising money as it is. Trump's raising tons of money. As far as the House is concerned, It's possible we could actually pick up some seats, but I think the idea that the Democrats are going to pick up those 25 seats, unless the Republicans do something really stupid, that isn't going to happen. And I wouldn't even be surprised if their pickups were 5 seats or less. And I wouldn't even be really surprised if the Republicans actually pick up a few seats. Because what we see in the last 3 primaries is that Democrats, the far left-wing Democrats, are beating the corporate Democrats. And what that means is that they're going to be facing off in a general election in places in the Rust Belt, in the Midwest, in the South, in the Sun Belt, all these places across the country where even Democrats are not that far to the left. And it's going to cause a lot of Democrats to either stay home or maybe go vote for a Republican. So we see more and more of this happening, and that blue wave may turn into a red wave. I'm not predicting that. I am predicting at this point that if nothing major happens, if the Republicans don't blow themselves up, which they can always do, they're pretty stupid. But as long as they don't do anything really stupid, I think this blue wave is definitely gone. I think that the Democrats will probably pick up 5 seats or less in the House, and I think we will pick up 3 to 5 seats at least in the Senate. Could be more. We just don't know at this point. But we know the left is in meltdown mode. Total meltdown mode. And what this is doing, as I said in the previous video, this is it's bringing out the worst. It's bringing out what they really feel, what they really think. And if you look at where the far left wants to run, you look at this far leftist who won, the Democrat who won the other night that everybody's talking about, and you looked at her 3 top issues on her platform to abolish ICE, open borders, and all these other things. I mean, these are losers. These are losers in most parts of the country. Unless you live in some highly left-wing enclave, these are losers. And the corporate Democratic Party knows that, but there's nothing they can do. They've lost control of the far left wing of their party. They've lost control of them. They don't control them anymore. And it's a mess. The Democratic Party is in meltdown. And we're just going to have to watch and see how this plays out. But man, oh man, can you say winning? Winning. I keep telling you we're winning. It's hard. It's a tough fight when you're battling the deep state. But we are winning. Hell, we're fighting back for a change. We haven't even been in the fight for the last 40 years. It's not going to happen overnight, but it is happening. And believe me, Trump has got a plan. Don't worry. Do not worry. So there we go. Major news. Winning. That's what that's called. Winning. Well, today was also the day that Peter's been stroking us went for his testimony. And now we can be pretty sure that there is a real Peter's been stroking us, because there were several photographs snapped of him, video of him entering the building, coming down the hallway, and he does look like the pictures that we've seen. So I think we can put that theory to bed, that there really is someone called Peter Strzok. He really does exist, and he really is the guy we've seen the pictures of. So I think that we put that to bed. But anyway, as far as his testimony, it was kind of strange. We heard that, again, the same as we saw the last time, it wasn't the full committee there. It was hand-selected people. And it appears it was Goodlatte who picked the people. And, of course, he picked a couple good guys, but picked some Democrats and some guys who are not good guys. So I'm not sure where he was going there. But at least ways he did pick Jim Jordan. And I know that Jim Jordan had got together with Gates and DeSantis and some other people to make sure that he got all the questions that they want. So you can expect that Jim Jordan is going to ask the tough questions. Now, the early take on this, we haven't heard from Jim Jordan. He was the only one that was that's a real good guy that was there. And he's going to be on Hannity tonight. But as far as we know right now, just from what we've heard from what people who've talked to Jordan have said, it appears that Peter's been stroking us did pretty much what he did to the IG, which is that he gives very long, very detailed answers and tries to do a major spin job on everything. So he is someone who thinks he's really clever and that he can outsmart his questioners, and he filibusters his answers and tries to justify what he's done. We're hearing that he told this committee the same thing he told the IG about the comment about, we'll stop him, that comment, that was just a personal comment, that it had nothing to do with his professional work at the FBI. It didn't affect what he did or anything like that. So this is the line that he's following. It's the line he's playing. It's not going to fly, though. No one's going to believe it, and there's too much evidence of the contrary. There's probably some things that involve classified information that he probably can't talk about. And in fact, he really can't talk about too much about what Strzok says, but he can talk on his general feeling about how it went. So I don't expect we'll get a lot of detail, but we'll certainly get an idea of what you can expect from Strzok, which is exactly apparently how he behaved with the Inspector General, and it's how all these people are going to behave. They're not going to admit their guilt. They're not going to throw themselves at the mercy of the committee or the IG or a court and say, okay, I'm guilty, I did it, I'm sorry, please have mercy on me. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. So this should not surprise us. But we'll certainly watch Jim Jordan tonight on Hannity and see what he has to say. Well, they have passed the resolution in the House, just as we talked about yesterday. They did this last night. This resolution, just as we were told, gives Rodenstein and Wray 7 days to comply, which would, I believe that means that would be next Monday. So, if they don't comply, then they are going to go ahead and move to vote for either impeachment or maybe they do contempt first and then impeachment, but it's ultimately going to be impeachment. Now, the vote was a 15-11 party line vote. 15 Republicans voting to do it, 11 voting against. I believe that, now this was in a committee, but I believe to get a vote on impeachment, that has to be done with the whole body, the whole House of Representatives. So that will, again, come down to a party line vote. And, of course, you're going to have to make sure that those 20, 30, whatever Republicans that fell out of line on the immigration bill don't pull the same stunt here. That'll have a lot to do with Paul Ryan. That was his fail on that first immigration bill. And if this vote fails with the whole House to impeach Rodenstein, that will also fall on Ryan. There should be no question about that. But we'll just have to wait and see. Now, like I said, I read that letter from Rodenstein to the House Intelligence Committee, and it looks like to me Rodenstein has no intention of, coming off those documents. He cited 2 or 3 statutes that he believes protect him and give him the ability to protect this information because it's classified information or what have you. But apparently he's willing to go to court. Now, he'll probably lose, but Rodenstein doesn't care because his plan is the same as Uncle Bob's plan and the same as all the Democrats and the left-wing plan, is to drag everything out past the midterms, hoping that the Democrats recapture the House, in which case they put the kibosh on all these hearings. But as you can see, as we move closer to the November elections, it looks like that blue wave ain't going to happen. And it looks like that even if Rodenstein is successful at dragging this out through the courts past November, that he's likely going to end up still with a Republican majority in the House. And in fact, he'll have even more pro-Trump Republicans than we have now, both in the House and the Senate. So it's a risky deal, but I guess it's Rodenstein's last play. And again, that's what I said yesterday. Whatever it is, it must be very, very bad for Rodenstein and Wray to take it all the way to this point. Normally that would not happen. So whatever it is that they don't want to come out, it is going to come out one way or another. Because ultimately there is going to be some sort of a special counsel, presidential commission, whatever you want to call it. There's going to be something else that's going to come along because it's clear that the Justice Department cannot investigate itself. And we saw where Horowitz was blocked from getting certain documents from witnesses. I know people say, well, Huber's there, that's why he's there. But apparently Horowitz didn't turn to Huber and say, well, they're blocking me, but you've got the authority to go talk to these people or get these documents. Go get them. But we did not see that happen. We did not see Horowitz say a single word about Huber, working with Huber, turning things to Huber, or anything else. So We will have to wait and see how that all turns out. But at this point, that looks like where we are on the Rodenstein situation. It looks like this is the final deadline, and it looks like, from what Meadows said, is that Paul Ryan had already agreed that on this last time that he went to talk to Rodenstein and Ray, that they had an agreement with the House members and Ryan. Okay, we'll give them one last chance. You've got to go convince them that this is what they got to do. But if they don't do it, you are going to be with us on a floor vote to impeach or what have you. And apparently, Ryan said yes. If I'm unsuccessful at getting them to cooperate, I'll be on board and we will have the floor vote. So that appears to be where this came down. Well, another thing that happened yesterday in the midst of all these other things going on was that Judge Ellis, who we were just talking about, has come out with a ruling. And he has rejected Manafort's attorney's motion to dismiss the case. But even though he didn't dismiss the case, he wrote a 31-page opinion on what is going on with this case, where he made it perfectly clear in stating that Mueller is being used as a tool for pursuing a partisan agenda. Judge Ellis said that even a blind person can see that Trump is the target. He also, in his 31-page opinion, believes that the special counsel law of 1978 should be left to expire and should not be renewed. He doesn't like the special counsel law. And he also, in that 31-page opinion, said that Mueller's tactics were distasteful. So, what does this mean? Well, I think what it means is that he didn't feel that he could dismiss the case based on constitutional grounds as brought by Manafort's lawyers, but he's also saying at the same time that he is not going to tolerate the shenanigans, and he's going to be keeping a very, very close tab on how Uncle Bob and the executioner and the Hillary donor posse conduct themselves. You can expect that he's going to rule a lot in Manafort's favor. He didn't rule in his favor on dismissing the case, but in future proceedings and future rulings will likely lean towards Manafort, because clearly Judge Ellis is not happy with Mueller, the Hillary donor posse, and the whole case, why the case was brought and what the intention of the case is. So I think it can expect Judge Ellis to be very, very on top of this case as it moves forward, and it will move forward. Well, it looks like Laura Loomer has filed assault charges against Mad Max with the District of Columbia Police. Apparently, she has it all on video. Apparently, Mad Max physically hit her 3 times. Twice, Mad Max apparently swatted Laura Loomer in the face, in the face with papers. And she's got it all on video. So, will Mad Max be arrested before she's forced to step down? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. You know, really depends. I mean, it's D.C. Anything can happen in D.C. Now, my community, I'm not sure. The cops would probably go pay a visit to the person, and I don't know if they would arrest them or not, but you would certainly get a visit from the cops. They'd certainly want to question you, and depending on your answers, they might arrest you. It's politics in D.C., and maybe the D.C. Metro Police do not want to deal with the politics of arresting Mad Max. But clearly, there's a tremendous amount of pressure on her. She's being censored. Lots of people calling for her to resign. The Secret Service is now investigating her. She's got a lot of problems. And the thing about Mad Max that has to be driving the left crazy is that she won't back down. She continues to say the same crazy stuff she's been saying. She's not changing her tune really at all. And of course, we have the video. I mean, she can continue to say she didn't say what she said, but the video is there. And it's evident what her intent was. Pelosi was giving a speech, and she was commenting about the disastrous loss in the primaries last night, seeing all these hardcore left-wingers defeating the corporate and establishment Democrats. And Pelosi, in her statement, as she was talking, she said, you know, in my district, they call me a corporate pawn. And they're right, you are a corporate pawn. So what is the Democratic Party of today? It's either the corporate pawns of Wall Street or communists. The red diaper doper babies. Take your pick, America. What would you like to have? More corporate Democrats that are literally senile, or would you rather have commies? Take your pick. Or you can have a moderate, conservative, populist president like Trump and a Congress that will help him to do things like tax cuts, fighting for fair trade, defending our borders, protecting our borders, getting rid of the crazy immigration policies that we have that are destroying the culture and the language of the country. I mean, Trump looks very, very electable, as do Republicans who follow along his line of rhetoric, compared to what we see on the Democrat side, which is either 90-year-old corporate hacks who are owned by Wall Street or communists. Take your pick, America. The Democrats are in bad, bad shape. If they lose in 2018, meaning if they don't take back the House, I'm pretty sure Madam Botox will be resigning the following day, probably along with Tom Perez. In fact, the majority of the Democratic leadership, including across the country, especially in the very left-wing states, the big urban centers, they will resign too. You're going to see a complete meltdown of the Democratic Party if they don't pull it out in 2018, and I don't think it looks very good for them right now. We could be seeing a major, major shift in American politics. Could see the end of the Democratic Party as we know it. Could lead to a whole new party, or just a complete reform of the current Democratic Party, and they're going to have to decide. Do they want to be a socialist party, or do they want to be a more populist party on the left? That's the decision they're going to have to make. So what happens if they decide to become a more democratic populist type party? What happens to that very energized communist base that they have? Where do they go? It's not good for the Democrats. We just need to keep doing what we're doing, which is winning. Because every time we win, they melt down a little more and expose a little more about what they truly believe and who they truly are. They're going to continue to act up, continue to do the things they're doing, which to the average American, even the average Democrat here in the Rust Belt or anywhere in the Midwest, in the South, down in Dixieland, whether it's in the Southwest, the average Democrat is just not going to go there. They're not. They're either going to stay home or they're going to become, Republicans. We saw this happen with Reagan, and we saw it happen to some extent in 2016 with Trump, but I think Trump is winning those people. I think those Democrats that voted for him were happy they voted for him, because to them, a lot of those blue-collar Democrats in the Rust Belt, the trade issue, it's the trade issue, and they're watching Trump fight for them on the trade issue. They never saw a Democrat fight for them on the trade issue. He could win even bigger. He could turn even more Democrats out in 2018 and 2020. Paul Sperry, back with this story again. This is the story that refuses to go away. It just keeps coming back again and again. Okay, so we're back to this story where the Department of Justice won't release top secret Loretta Lynch intercepts suggesting the secret deal to rig the Clinton probe or investigation, which was not an investigation, whatever you want to call it. And of course we know that this was censored in the IG report. Not even Horowitz, he tried to get a look at it, not even Horowitz was allowed to look at this document or these documents. It's not just one, it's a bunch of documents. And a lot of people are suggesting that this is what Comey was talking about. When Comey said, okay, I felt like I had to grab the reins and go out and take over and essentially become the DOJ and essentially become the DOJ in addition to the FBI and make the call to exonerate Hillary because of what I learned, which would reflect very badly on the Attorney General and bias or what have you. But he would never disclose this. So this is about the third or fourth time now this has come back up. So whatever this is, it's so secretive that they wouldn't let Horowitz see it. They're not allowing any member of Congress to see it, even the ones on the Intelligence Committee, the Gang of Eight. No matter how high their clearance, they are being blocked from seeing these documents. Now, Judicial Watch has already filed a lawsuit, to get these documents. I don't know if they're going to be successful there, but certainly this is another one of those things that the Judicial Committee or the House Intelligence Committee or the Senate Intel Committee, although they'd never be interested, but the House Intel or maybe even the Oversight Committee should be able to get a hold of this. And they're probably going to have to fight in court to get this. But apparently it's very, very damning. And apparently this document, from as far as Paul Speary knows, from what he's learned, is that this document is going to show clearly that there was interactions, communications between Loretta Lynch and a member of the Clinton campaign. A Clinton aide is what they're describing it as. Now we know that Loretta Lynch, when she was questioned about this, she said that she never spoke to or had communications with anyone who was a part of the campaign during 2015-2016. We know that's already a lie because she met with Bill Clinton on the tarmac, and he was a part of the Clinton campaign. The Rotten Reverend's husband, he was a part of the campaign. So that was already a lie. But they're talking about a regular series of communications or interactions with someone in the Clinton campaign, an aide by Loretta Lynch, which would be, well, I mean, it would be bombshell. It would be beyond bombshell. It would certainly land Loretta Lynch in jail, obviously. And we already suspect that this person she was communicating with may have been Miss Renteria, because of the one email that we do have. And we do have the one comment from Loretta Lynch where she promises not to allow the investigation to go too deeply into Clinton's server, is what she was specifically talking about, looking at Clinton's homebrew server. So at this point, it's hard to say what this is, but I imagine they will eventually get it. This might be one of the documents that Nunes wants, or that Grassley wants, or that Goodlatte wants, that Rodenstein is hiding behind this being so highly classified that he should not have to turn it over. And again, this is going to face probably go to the courts, and of course they'll go all the way to the courts, no problem. And I would think that they'll win, because I mean, if you read the Constitution, I mean, it does say that these committees have oversight and can see the documents. They have all the clearances. It's part of our system of checks and balances. It's executive versus legislative branch versus executive branch. And therein lies the crux of the argument. But obviously, as we have seen over these last few decades, especially since 9/11, this argument that some documents are too highly classified to be shared with the bodies in Congress that do oversight, this has been used and utilized quite a few times. And no one ever really takes it all the way to a challenge in court. I mean, to a high court. But I think in this particular case, because of the nature of what we're talking about here, as far as the Republicans concerned, that this information will reveal that there was a deep state plot to frame Trump, to set up Trump, people in the Trump campaign, that based on that they should have the right to see these documents because of the possibility that something this egregious was undertaken by the FBI, the DOJ. And of course, when you look at the damning texts, when you look at the activities, when you look at spies being in the campaign, and these spies have close connections to American intelligence, British intelligence, the FBI, and these things, I think that this would be a winning case in court. And, you know, I suspect that Rodenstein and Wray and all of the deep state players, I think they all know this, but I think there's so much counting on winning the House, the Democrats winning the House and shutting down all this stuff, that they think it's their best shot, maybe their only shot, because I think they'll lose in the courts, but it's all delay tactics. And maybe they think Uncle Bob, the executioner, is going to pull a rabbit out of his hat and do something. So, you know, there's a lot of balls in the air right now, and we don't know where they're all going to land. We just know there's a lot of balls in the air and that things could go any way. But I think that what's different about this and compared to previous times is that the most powerful man in the country, the president, at this time, it's the president who was the target. It's the president who was the target. And that changes the equation because, and especially this president, we know that this president is not a guy who likes to be attacked and sit back and take it. And when you go after him, he comes back at you twice as hard. It's hard for me to believe that Trump, knowing what they tried to do to him as a candidate, what they've tried to do to him, and what they continue to do to him, try to do to him as president, is probably a big enough deal to him that he is not just going to say, well, I'm just going to let it slide and get on with things. I think Trump believes that he can move the country forward with his legislative agenda and still take care of the deep state. I think he probably has a plan, and I think he probably has a time schedule, and I think that that's probably what's going on. So it requires us all to be patient and to trust that Trump is not going to back away. Again, he's the target in all of this. So that's what makes this different. He is the target, and he is the president. And if in 2018, maybe that's what he's looking for, is he knows it's going to be an expenditure of political capital, and he knows it could also have some backfire effect to it. So maybe I think he's being advised, maybe by political people around him, hey, we know you want to go after these people. You know, you're right that we should get after these people. But right now, we have to focus on 2018. Let's win the House. Let's hold on to the House. Pick up a few seats in the Senate. Your hand will be stronger, and you'll have more support and more of a, I don't know, a little bit more wind in your sails, the wind at your back, as opposed to blowing in your face. And so that when you go pursue this takedown, you'll be in a much stronger position to do it, and you won't be risking, losing seats in the House with your party. So I think that this is probably the political advice that Trump is getting. I think he's probably being patient in all this. And we don't know about the discussions that happen between... we don't know about the discussions that go on between Nunes and Trump, or Meadows and Trump, or Jordan and Trump, or Gates or DeSantis and Trump. But we know that they do talk to Trump about this stuff. And they've asked him to declassify everything. He hasn't done it. But, it doesn't mean that he won't. He has even suggested that he's trying to stay out of it, but he said he may not be able to stay out of it forever. So he's sending hints out there that at some point he may get personally involved. And I think that he will, and he probably will have to, but I think he's being told from his political people, better wait till after November. So I think we just all have to hold tight and focus on where we are. In the meantime, things should continue as they are. They should continue to press to impeach Rodenstein and Wray if that's what they need to do. Continue to apply the pressure, continue to interview witnesses, continue to subpoena documents, continue to build their case, and continue to push for an independent counsel, special counsel, commission, whatever. Unless someone can give me or someone else the confidence that Mr. Huber is actually conducting some stuff that we don't know about, that there's actually going to be something coming out of it. But I just haven't seen anything from Huber, and I guess I'm just not comfortable enough to say, don't worry about everything, man. Huber's taking care of everything. He's got an investigation going. He's going to drop the hammer on these people. Just wait and see. Hey, I don't know. Maybe, but maybe not. I'm not comfortable enough to go there, so I'm going to keep suggesting they keep pushing. Pushing as if Mr. Huber is not even there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See you guys. Winning! Winning!